Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie discussion in the multiverse. I am your host, Adam Portrais, and I'm joined by Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and some men were meant to charge into battle, and some creme brulees are just a little too burnt on top.
I don't know what that means, but I'll take it as a good
That was
sign.
my closest stab at something that would come out of the tick's mouth.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's good. I'm like, is this from a thing? Did I miss that part of the episode? No, apparently I didn't. Bruce is just waxing poetic Tick style here, and that's what we'll be doing today, everybody. When we're reviewing The Tick from Amazon, 6 episodes. We reviewed the pilot when it first came out, and now we're going to give you the first half of it and say, hey, man, should this be something that you spend your time on? I think we were pretty. Fairly positive for the first episode, yeah?
I seem to remember us being a little ambivalent. Like, we didn't hate it, but we didn't love it.
Yeah, it was like, it's okay. I mean, like, it's one of those, because it wasn't the Amazon pilot that they go and they shoot and then people vote on it, and apparently they greenlit all the ones that they shot this year, I guess. So I don't know how that works.
Takes some of the fun out of winning, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're like, hey, everybody, go and vote. Doesn't really matter because we're giving it to everybody. Like, what kind of like, 21st century T-ball is this? Everybody wins.
Well, they also took advantage of some of the feedback they got from that pilot. They changed the costume around a little bit. I think they changed the tone of the show just a little bit. I think it worked out for them, rather than if they'd just produced a whole season at the same time they produced that pilot,
See, sometimes it's smart, and and we'll see if that feedback was worth it and what they did and may not have changed and stuff like that. But I'm kind of excited to talk about this. Yes, for those of you that are keeping score at home, Sean is out again. He does send his regrets along. Not he's not he's not dead. Honestly,
definitely not dead. Definitely not dead. Don't go check in our closets. Don't look in the trunk of my car.
No, don't do it.
Definitely not Sean in there.
There's nothing to find. There's but he'll be back. He'll be back soon. As a matter of fact, he may have a little. He's not going to be here for next week, but I think he's already cooked us up a little cameo for next week. So don't worry. Even though he's not here, he will be here in spirit and in voice, and you'll actually get to hear his thoughts on some stuff. But we'll cover that at the end of the show come next episode as well. What we do like to do at the top of the show here is, shout out to all the people that go over to patreon.com/HMP and throw a little love our way, my man. We have a new one in here this week at the $5 level. Ken, welcome to the fold, my friend. For people that are like Ken, he actually, and I'm going to say this one, I don't know if I said this one the last time that it happened. I started up, but I had forgotten to unstar it, so maybe I didn't. Amber also came in, and I can't remember if I mentioned Tim as well. Tim is in actually at the $10 level. So Tim, also, that includes that you can have us shout out whatever you want, man. So just drop us an email, and we'll do that. But with Amber and Ken, what they actually get, anyone at the $5 level gets the pre-show, the post-show. Of course, everyone at every level gets to vote on one of the movies that we watch each and every month, and other kinds of fun stuff. Maybe a bonus episode here or there. That's all you always got to check out in that thing. So if you want to help out with that, help defer the cost of the show and things of that measure, please go down to patreon.com/HMP. We really appreciate everybody that does that, man. But what we want to do before we get into our review here, we do have to open up the old HMP mailbag. And let's hold on.
Wow, that sounds great.
What you guys don't know is I accidentally stopped the recording at the same time too. So I'm gonna say take 2, but it's actually take 3. So terrible. Gee whiz.
Bale's here.
Nothing but professionalism from us.
I tried to tease it. It didn't work. It didn't work at all.
Let's just roll with it.
Oh, gosh. This one comes to us from Micah.
Hey, is that RocketFace, Micah?
Yes, Mr. RocketFace himself, supporter at patreon.com/HMP. And he says, sorry about the long email. Now, he wrote this a couple days ago. And remember when I said, did we have an email? I couldn't remember. We did have one. He wrote one. I just forgot to put a little star by it so I could remember to read it. Okay, Adam, the jig is up. It's time you let the faithful listeners know the truth about the real reason that Sean has not been showing up to do the show.
Uh-oh.
There's a rift growing between him and Bruce, and the source of it is man's best friend, our faithful canine companions. Sean has let the world know his deep levels of respect and admiration that he has for our furry four-legged friends on his Given Up Too Soon podcast Dog Geek Pod.
The illustrious 5 episodes in, and he had to hang it up.
On the other side of the argument, we have Bruce, who's let his disdain for our own innocent puppy more than known, and has been projecting his reprobate fantasies onto the innocent pooches that we see on screen. Speaking as someone who is a big supporter of all animals, I believe that Bruce should pay a penance in order to make amends and to entice Sean to return. Perhaps a Patreon vote. Join the HMP Patreon to vote on Bruce's punishment. Also, watch Zorro the Gay Blade, RocketFace blast off. That's for a good play, right?
I'm all for watching Zorro the Gay Blade, man. I watched that movie as a kid and loved it.
So we got a Bruce punishment. That's all right. Well, I'm coming up with something. Don't worry. We'll figure something out. But thanks.
You should ban me from the show for 4 weeks.
Nobody listen, and then Sean can't come. Nobody wants an Adam only HMP.
First, you'll have to learn a ventriloquist act or something to keep it going.
I thought he's pretty good. Yeah, he is. Yeah, I think that Adam guy's a real smart fella. That's when you know the show's a whole bunch of made up crap. Is then when all of them really start kind of patting me on the back, going, "He's handsome and smart." Hey, I'm starting to get the feeling that these guys ain't for real.
What was the name of the famous ventriloquist dummy with the monocle? That's the one you need. From like the old black and white days.
What was the one?
He's not as famous as Howdy Doody, but more debonair.
What was the one that cursed at all the kids? Do you remember that? The Simpsons did a takeoff on it, but that was based on a real thing.
I'm not familiar with it.
Well, there was a guy who was on a television program, right, for kids and stuff, and they go to break and everything, and the Simpsons did it. They just, but this happened for real, where they thought, okay, we're in break, and the guy and the ventriloquist just goes, well, that'll hold the little SOBs, and that was it. That was kind of the end of his career, because they were like, oh shoot, we're still live, and they were like, oh boy. I think he actually set it out the whole thing, though, so that was even worse, especially back then. So man. You don't do that kind of stuff.
I think Lord Charles might have been the name of the dummy I was trying to think
Lord Charles.
of. No, Charlie McCarthy. It was Charlie McCarthy.
Oh, he left the cake out in the rain, right?
I guess. That's who you need, man, with the top hat and the monocle.
I will say this. You ever see that flick Devil Doll? That's a MST3K joint that they did. Hilarious, where a little doll gets walking up. He sounds like Hervé Villechaize.
Oh man, I have seen all the Devil Doll. Is that? Oh man, is that the one that was like part of a trilogy for terror? And the lady was alone in the home with the voodoo doll.
No, I think that's a different one.
Okay,
this was just anyway, this mannequin wants to drink. This doll wants to drink. He's just like, I want wine. Give me wine. I'm like, what in the world?
Man, I've seen every episode featuring Slappy of Goosebumps, but that's about it.
Oh, love some Slappy, boy. All right, let's close up the old HMP mailbag, shall we? Hey, it worked that time.
Yeah.
Bale's here.
And, of course, we always like to read your emails, man. Go ahead and do that at heromoviepodcast@gmail.com. But, Bruce, a little bit more housekeeping. Sorry, we got to keep you on the hook here, folks. But we do want to thank the people that go over to the iTunes, drop us a 5-star review, a.k.a. Humdinger. And it's been a while, so that's why we have to do it. This one comes to us from Monica Woe. I like that.
Yeah.
It's entitled Fantastic Podcasts. One of my favorite podcasts. I found this through Preacher Podcast, which led me to Heroes and Villains. Both of these are also fantastic, which led me to this. Bruce's comic knowledge is impressive, and Sean's Stallone connection makes me laugh every time. I particularly enjoy listening to the episodes about some subpar movies. The Shadow, for example. I'd forgotten all about Knifey.
Yeah, Knifey.
Thanks, guys, for making my long daily commutes more entertaining. Looking forward to many more episodes. Monica, thank you for that 5-star review, and we'd like to thank everybody that takes time out of their precious day to go on down to patreon.com. That's part of the show's over, Portrais.
iTunes.
That's what it's called. I'm like, what's it called? What's the thing where you do the podcast stuff again? iTunes. It's been one of those days, everybody. Let's let me get my my grounding here and listen to the trailer here for The Tick.
Hello, world. This is an epic tale, rife with destiny, adventure, blood loss, and good against evil.
Well, look at you.
Impossible.
You're a superhero.
Good eye. I am the Tick.
Bulletproof. What do you bench?
No idea.
Can you fly?
Tick!
Good grief.
Destiny's on the line, Arthur. Accept the charges.
Is this gonna be a long call? Could I sit?
Sure. How can I put this? Murder. It's just not cool. Impolite! Quite a kick. What the world needs now is us. Sweet us.
No.
Oh, yeah. Ah, this is the good stuff.
I'm breaking a little bit.
Taser time! Tickle!
2 bullets, point blank, and high voltage, plus a 3-story drop, and look at you. You're as alive as a daisy.
Hey, Amazon, don't use that music. That's just terrible.
I was sitting here dancing to it.
I'm not surprised, yo dad. Here's the IMDb.
Oh, and by the way, but before you go into IMDb, I just wanted to say Candice Bergen.
Candice Bergen. What about?
Her father was a ventriloquist, and he's the one who used that ventriloquist dummy with the top hat and the monocle. I'm done with ventriloquism now.
Don't you tease us like that. You know you're not. Here's the IMDb plotline. In a world where superheroes have been real for decades, an accountant with no superpowers comes to realize his city is owned by a supervillain. As he struggles to uncover this conspiracy, he falls in league with a strange blue superhero. This is starring Peter Serafinowicz, Griffin Newman, Valerie Curry, Scott Spinner, I can't pronounce that guy's name, and Jackie Earle Haley.
Nailed it.
Like we said, we kind of watched the first episode when that came out as a pilot and everything. We had some interesting thoughts on it. Bruce has not only covered the Tick once here, but also in the what do you call it there? The live action Fox show from back in the day. So Let's see what. Hold on, I've got it. Here it is. Bruce's comic book connection. Darn near forgot it. What do you got for us this time?
Oh, this is a week. If you'd forgotten it, I would have forgotten it too, because I kind of forgot it. Well, I've talked about the Tick twice already, as you've said, and I've covered about all there really is to cover when it comes to the big blue yonder. But I'd like to talk about the little guy that makes the Tick tick, as in tick like a watch, not, any other kind of tick. But anyone who knows anything about hemovoric arachnids know that ticks are parasites. They cannot survive without drawing blood from another creature's life force. And in the case of the Tick, that source of yummy red goodness is Arthur. Arthur is the Tick's sidekick. But you may be surprised to hear that he didn't appear until issue number 4 of the comics. He was gainfully employed as an accountant when he bought a moth suit at an auction. One can be tempted to ask a few questions about this, like what kind of an auction and why a moth suit? But one of the wonderful things about the Tick comics is that it doesn't waste time with petty questions of logic when there is fun to be had. This moth suit plays into Arthur's decision to dip his toe in the white waters of superhero justice. One drawback to the suit are the wide, somewhat fluffy-looking antennae that result in Arthur looking like a bunny when his wings are retracted. In the comics, other than functioning wings and a general aura of adorableness, the suit has no powers. It's not bulletproof. It doesn't have an onboard computer, and it really amounts to little more than footy pajamas that can glide. Also, and you may be surprised to learn this, but going around town in a bunny moth suit is criteria that can get an accountant lifetime psychiatric leave. Now, given the theme of Arthur's suit, one can assume he planned to call himself the Moth, or maybe even the Moth of Justice or White Wings of Vengeance or something like that, but he never seems to have made it past Arthur. After rescuing a powerful ninja artifact called the Thorn of Oblivion and helping the Tick and Oedipus defeat the ninjas, Arthur decides to formally become the Tick's sidekick. He is an extremely kind, sensible, and intelligent person, but his social skills are somewhat lacking, as he is shy and he lacks self-confidence. Arthur often shows mild discomfort or annoyance with the dangers and frustrations of being a superhero sidekick. Various family members and friends continuously beg him to give up his superhero lifestyle. He has been animated and portrayed by not one, but 2 different live-action actors. His famous battle cry is, "Not in the face," and he's one of the few superheroes to wear regular old spectacles while fighting crime. Everything in the Tick's world is fluid, with only 2 things being constant. One is, of course, the Tick, but the other is his partner in non-crime, Arthur.
Yeah, so with this second episode, they had a little bit of a period in between the pilot episode that we watched and reviewed back on episode I don't know what, because I didn't look it up. Go scroll. You'll find some other things that you like, I promise.
Yeah.
But we talked about it then, and we had some problems, especially with the suit. I think the suit was one of our biggest things of like, what is this weird monstrosity that they've got strapped over to Peter Serafinowicz? And guess what? They changed it, and I love the way they covered it too.
They changed it for the better, and then they played it off in it's not the first television show to ever do this, but Arthur says, something looks different about the suit, and then he just like brushes it off and they go about their business.
A good old fashioned never you mind.
Yeah, like the first time Sarah Chalky showed up on not the first time Sarah Chalky showed up, but the first time the original Becky showed up after Sarah Chalky's period on Roseanne, and then she walks into the room and her sister says, what are you looking at? She goes, I don't know. I just feel like I haven't seen you in over a year or something like that. They do that in shows.
Yeah, there's been a couple of those where it's just like, I barely recognize you anymore.
But having all that time between the pilot and episode 2 really made that abrupt change not the least bit jarring. You know what I mean? Because I didn't have it I didn't rewatch the pilot. I jumped straight into episode 2. And I just, like the suit melded my memory so that like my retrograde memory just put that suit on the Tick in the pilot. Then I went back and saw some clips from the pilot after I'd finished watching these 6 episodes, and I thought, wow, they really did make an improvement on that
such
suit.
A better improvement on it. And the more I watch it, the more I kind of, because one of the things when we had the Patrick Warburton version is you see his face fully in there. Now, other than that, I mean, I do like that outfit a whole bunch, and I think it kind of makes the most sense because it's, smooth and just easy like the comic is, right?
Yeah.
But with this one, you still have the kind of junky stuff in there. But I will say this. I've grown accustomed, and I actually like the eye cutouts, which is obviously more like the book. But I like those more than I do, because for the longest time, I was just like, just have the face cut out, just like the Fox version. Well, I think this one's actually better.
Yeah, I like the eye cutouts, and I like the way they changed them from the pilot. That was one of the things I didn't like a lot about the pilot. But they made them like bigger,
so they're bigger. The
circles are rounder. Yeah.
Maybe that's why
Maybe
that's why I was digging it more, because I didn't do the A/B because I figured it would just throw me out too much. But yeah, if they made him bigger, then which now I'm kind of thinking about it, it does make more sense that that's what they did, and it looks so much better. It really works this time.
Yeah, it worked a lot for me, man. I was very happy with how they updated the suit. I'm also happy with the change in tone.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you think that it changed to a much more comedic tone and it felt more like the Tick, right?
Yeah, there's a couple things I'll say about the change in tone compared to the Tick that we got in the pilot and the Tick we got in episode 2. I feel like, and boy, you're going to have to say the actor's last name for me. Is it Serafowatz?
Serafinowicz.
Yeah, that's what I said. Sarah Finnegan. Anyway, the actor, man, I think he embraced some of the good parts of Warburton's performance in between the pilot and the second episode. And he also borrowed just a little bit from the dearly departed Adam West in that first couple of episodes.
Right. Which also, like, when you kind of look back at some of the stuff, you can see how there's a bit of that possible influence in there and stuff as well. I can't tell you what's inside of Ben Edlund's head, but it feels like there's a little bit of that in there, you know?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I don't know. The villains were lightened up a little bit. It lost some of that. Man, it really felt to me like, okay, they're trying to give us something that would fit in Nolan's Dark Knight universe or in some of the early Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that's all pretty much gone here. They're just giving us the Tick.
Yeah, it was like I felt the entire time watching these episodes, man, I just had a smile on my face because it feels like they brought back what this thing was supposed to be.
And they also nipped something in the bud in the third episode, you know, the second of those that we watched, but episode 3 of the season here, that I was starting to worry. I didn't want it to happen. It's something that I really felt like was going to happen after the pilot. But this whole idea of, is Arthur a reliable narrator? Like, if the Tick is literally just a figment of his imagination, it's not going to work for me. And I really thought they were going to play with us that way. But, you know, in episode 3, he's convinced himself that the Tick's just a figment of his imagination. Then his sister can see him, and I exhale in relief that we're not going to have to deal with that for the whole season about is he real or is he imaginary. I didn't want to see something like what we got from MTV's The Max,
right? Or you know, like he's just ducking out in just the nick of time and stuff, because they do show some things back and forth where like he goes back in his memory and just goes, yeah, he just kind of disappeared on me and everything, and it's like, wait a second, no, that I am nuts, and it's like, no, you're not nuts. Sorry,
I didn't want them to sixth sense us on this show. Like in the season finale, we find out he was dead the whole time or something. So I'm glad they did away with that.
You've been in an insane asylum.
I really, what was that Leonardo? Oh, I don't want to spoil too many weird non-related movies, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I think that when they filmed the pilot, Edlund may have been questioning whether or not he wanted to go that route, and then decided, no, let's just give people what they want.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, here's the thing, man. I liken it to, you know, and as we've kind of stated on the program before and everything, Edlund had like a lot of success as a young guy, you know? And it happens to like a lot of bands and stuff. Now, they just put it out. Go listen to the Rolling Stones just dropped a live version of Sticky Fingers, right? And so while the Stones have never been, look, I'm a big Stones fan, but they're not the greatest live band. But like music-wise, they're good, but Jagger just does not do well live. But when listening back to that album and everything, you know, Sticky Fingers is something that you know everybody's listened to a million times. When you hear it live and everything, these guys have been doing this album for 40 years, you know?
Yeah.
So it's going to be, they always have to do it a little bit different. There's going to be some different stuff in there. And it's like, you're either going to dig it or you're not going to dig it. And then you'll just go, well, I'm just going to go back to the studio album. It was 40 years ago and it worked really, it was perfect then. Why try to improve on something that's perfect? And I think, you know, anybody that has this kind of success young, especially, goes through a thing of like, hey, I've been sitting in this, you know, tick pool, if you will, for so long. My fingers starting to prune up. I need to do a little something else. Let's vary things up a little bit. But at the same time, too, you can come across the problem of, hey, man, this isn't really being true to what you put to us the first time. And it's not what we really fell in love with. And there does come a time when, you know, and I think Marvel does a fantastic job with it, is giving us something that we know and that we love, but changing it just enough so it's fun and different and new while still being that same lovely comfort food, you know?
Exactly, man. And I think that's something that Edlund keyed in a little bit between episode 1 and episode 2. And, you know, as far as sort of I don't know, artists coming to loathe their own greatest creation. Like, the famous story, the writer who wrote the Winnie the Pooh stories hated that story because it made him so much money, and all the like legitimate adult themed literary stories he wrote nobody would ever buy. Well, with Ben Edlund, he gets to avoid that with The Tick because he's had a lot of success in the world of television and movies. He's currently the showrunner for Gotham, where he can get a whole different side of his creative juices flowing than he does with The Tick. So I think that helps too. I think it would be rough if he hadn't done anything but The Tick from the time of the 70s.
That's very true. By the way, you seen that trailer for the Winnie the Pooh movie with what's his face in it?
No, I haven't.
It's a
Johnny Depp.
No. It's a live action, just telling of the author's life and everything with Domhnall Gleeson in it. And,
I think I'll like that.
Oh my gosh, I was crying during the trailer, going, "Oh God, this is gonna be Adam's gonna be a puddle of goo on that one, boy." But yeah, it's if you kind of wallowed in that stuff for so long, man, you can just go like, "I just want to do something different," and then somebody just goes, play Hotel California, and they're like, "Ah, crap."
Well,
Fine.
Also something else that I think helps out with Edlund and with this property, kind of like I said, the Tick's world is fluid. As long as you've got the Tick and Arthur there, you can change pretty much anything else you want, and folks are going to roll with it. So he brings in mostly all new villains, all new supporting characters. He's not really stuck to anything he did in the previous live action or the previous animation or the comic books. He's getting to tell whole new stories, which has got to be kind of nice too.
Right. And one of the things that I really like about this is just the so dry humor throughout all of it. And there's a couple of over the top
that was missing
stuff
in the pilot.
There's a couple of over the top things, but there's so much of it that is just bone dry that it's so great hearing a boat talk crap back to somebody.
And Alan Tudyk is the voice of that boat, which I think is a nice touch, man. You get somebody that folks who like the Tick are going to love the idea of Alan Tudyk, and get him to do voiceover, man. I think that was a nice touch. It's
so good. It's a lot of fun, and it makes a great contrast to the other. I guess he's not anti-hero. I guess we could say. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, he's
the Punisher.
An anti-hero. Yeah, he's the Punisher dressed like Deathstroke.
Yeah, there you go.
That's exactly what he is. But he does do a couple things. The Miss Lint, this new villainess that he introduces. You can't bring in Chippendale Chairface in a show like this. I mean, you're not going to have a guy with a chair for a head. But Miss Lint, to me, man, I found so much entertaining just about the concept of the character. The idea that because of her electrical charge, she keeps attracting lint and can't wear black. Started out calling herself the Swiffer. I really like her. And for a show that is dealing with kind of, speculative superhero kind of fiction, I think we get good acting performances here. And they're not asked to do the kind of acting that wins Oscars, but what they're asked to do, I think, is hard just the same. And I think they really kill it. Like that actor playing Arthur, it looks like a simple kind of stock character or whatever. But, I challenge anybody to try and pretend to be Arthur and do a decent job of it. You're going to find it's hard. I think everybody's doing a great job here.
Yeah, the actress talking about Yara Martinez. She's fantastic. I thought she was a great addition into this kind of second half, if you will, if we're counting the pilot as the first half, the new Tick, if you will.
And then the guy that plays her ex-husband that's still living with her in the condo, he looked familiar to me. I know I've seen him somewhere else before, and he's a lot of fun. Just the whole idea that Miss Lint would have ever been married to that guy is hilarious to me. It's under the top level kind of humor there.
And I think you could be I could be wrong, and I don't remember because I've seen a lot of things in this past week. So if I get this messed up, I'm sorry. But I feel like when we saw him for the first time in that big apartment and everything. First of all, that place is pretty nice, so I can understand her wanting him to be on. But is he not listening to 311 or something?
Probably, yeah. He's listening to the artists, you gotta come original. All artists gotta come original. That song is what he's listening to.
I don't know what that is, but
that's it though. It's 311 or 411. Yeah, it's got an 11 in it. It's got another number.
So it's 311. So he's a D-bag. Because I'm sorry, 311 fans, you can write me at hearmoviepodcast@gmail.com. I don't think you could explain away your love for 311.
It has a $2,600 bicycle and a T-shirt that just says kombucha on it.
I know people like that.
I think that guy's great, man. Just the hilarity of him being married to Miss Lint. I love the character. Also with Miss Lint, man, something that most people probably don't appreciate. But it was the first time, and you know, I haven't seen everything that's ever been made, but out of the stuff I've seen, it's the first time that they actually portrayed an ocular prosthesis accurately.
That I was going to ask you about that. So Miss Lint's got a fake eye of some sort here, and she's got an armory of eyes.
Yeah, man, they're all custom painted. She apparently had a lot of money spent with an ocularist, but a lot of television shows and movies, their understanding of a glass eye, like when it pops out, you see a whole sphere.
It's
like
just a little marble.
Yeah, but in reality, the spherical part is underneath the skin. It's sutured into the muscle. It's got connective tissue closed over it, so it's just like a shell. It almost looks like a really, really thick white porcelain contact lens that goes on that ball that's sutured in, and that's what she has. And then when she pops it in her mouth to kind of get it moist before she puts it in, I don't want to turn anybody's stomach, but that is something that really happens in the real world. Like, I almost wondered, like, does Ben Edlund have an uncle with a glass eye or something? How accurate everything's portrayed with that prosthesis.
Well, that's the thing, man. Like, honestly, it's just you're right. That felt so specific that it had to be some. Like, I'm like, I don't know that this is a thing, but it feels specific enough to where I would not be shocked if that was a thing.
Yeah, I know a guy. I don't want to say any kind of identifying information, but
Richard.
I know a guy that has a prosthesis that has like an Irish cross painted on it or something instead of an eye. So there are people that have those custom painted prostheses.
Listen, come on, people. First of all, it's weird enough for everybody to have to look at it in the first place. You got to sit there and put in John 3:16 up in your eyeballs. So we all have to go, what is that? Is that the?
It was
Under
more,
express
like
written
the land of Aaron
consent of the NFL, you do not broadcast. Wait a minute, what is that?
I like that. Yeah. But I like Miss Lint. The Pharaoh, Ramses or whatever from the Pyramid Gang. I thought that was kind of funny because, from the get-go, he's just a poser talking about the eye tattoo. Meanwhile, she's already got a big scar across her face and a prosthesis. I can understand why she didn't want to add to the disfigurement around that particular eye socket.
It's just like, look, I've already got enough bad stuff going on here. Why do you have to kill me here?
And when they're talking about creative endeavors, they say you've got to kill your darlings. And sometimes people misunderstand that. But what it kind of means is when something clever is in there just for the sake of being clever and doesn't add to the story, you're supposed to cut that out and make it lean. But one of those weird, random, doesn't mean anything, just weird for weird's sake, is the fact that we see Arthur's sister is part of a roller derby team, and that doesn't matter at all. Like that really contributes nothing to the story other than it just lets us know that she is, and I love that kind of weird stuff just out of nowhere.
Yet we don't know.
We still got more episodes in this season. It could be a big roller derby finale.
Let's hope so. I don't know why, maybe it's just chicks busting each other in the face or something, but roller derby's kind of hot, right?
Oh, everybody thinks that, man. Nobody dislikes roller derby of either gender.
Yeah. All right. I just want to make sure I wasn't the only one just going like, oh, what are you creepy and weird? I mean, I am, but not for that reason.
But man, and also not only she's in medical school, she is part of a roller derby team. She also has a job as an EMT, and somehow this guy gets her looped into stitching up criminals. I love it, man. She has far and away the most complicated life of anyone in existence.
She's on call for the mob. Listen, this girl's got the life of Bruce Leslie over here. She's got 15 different jobs trying to figure out what the heck's going on here. She's like, oh yeah, man, I also stitch up mafiosos on the side.
In all fairness, I had to give up roller derby while I was in medical school.
I want to see you in those hot pants just
skating
around there.
I got unwigged during a match and disqualified.
What gave it away? The beard?
Yeah. Oh, man. The Terror. We get some Jackie Earle Haley. And I don't think I need to say anything else about the fact that we got Jackie Earle Haley for people to know that I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I love how we make because it's so different than what we're used to seeing for so many things, is that Jackie Earle Haley is a little man. He's very small in stature, and to have him be the big bad in this thing, And I love that we've like really just super make-upped him up and everything, throwing these wild contacts and all this kind of jazz. And he's just talking in a really just kind of low, gravelly voice and everything. It's so silly and so over the top, but yet works so well.
And the Terror is from the comics. He's one of the few characters here other than Arthur and the Tick that are in the comics. And his defining characteristic in the comics is just that he's really, really old. And I think Jackie Earle Haley definitely plays the Terror as being really, really old. I love the teeth too, man. They're building so much. This whole town puts so much faith in the fact that they found his teeth. Therefore, he must be dead.
Yeah, exactly. They're very much just like, but we found teeth. You're like, yeah, I got more teeth.
And I like it too that his way of explaining is, I've always been good with pliers. It's that simple. Oh man, and Overkill shows up, I guess, around episode 3. As big a part of the season as he ends up being, I was kind of surprised he didn't show up a little bit earlier, but I doubt that they had him in mind when they made the pilot. I think if they knew where this was going, they could have dropped him in the pilot, and that would have maybe served to get people more excited about episode 2, you know?
Yeah, it is. It comes to it a little bit later, but it doesn't feel bad because I do like how he's kind of always following him around there and looking just to kill the Tick. But at the same time, too, you also just want to go, take the shot, man. There's so many times where he's got somebody up in the crosshairs, and it's like, pull the trigger. Pull it. Just pull it right now. Pull it, and you'll murder him. Pull it, and all right, well, I guess he's out the door now, and you can't go get him. You know what you should have done? Pull the trigger. You're a horrible assassin.
I like this character, man. Like we said, he's a little bit Deathstroke, a little bit Punisher, and I think he's a lot of fun. I like the actor that plays him. It almost feels at times, especially some of the things he says in his first, like the first episode where he gets to talk and stuff. I almost feel like maybe Edlund's taking a little bit of a dig at season 1 of Arrow too, with the way that this character's portrayed.
That kind of like, just...
yeah, the city's failed me, stuff like that.
It's all just kind of like, oh, stop it.
And I do like it too that it takes you a while to realize that his character's name is Overkill. Because they're watching the video and going, "Whoo, that's overkill." And you think they're talking about him stabbing everybody. And I love the Tick's reaction when he sees all the dead bodies and Arthur covered with blood, and he just assumed that Arthur slaughtered everyone and they have to have the talk.
It's just the relationship between the two of them has really stepped up, and again, it feels like it's supposed to feel like, and it's just above and beyond everything with the pilot episode. It shows you why you need pilots, though, for real.
Yeah, and a pilot with time to have public feedback, like a beta phase, if you will.
Yeah.
Because every show gets a pilot, and some execs watch it, and they'll probably do you screen test. You don't really get the real feedback like you do if you go wide. You know what I mean? Focus group it to death. It seems to never really have the same result as just showing it, making it available and getting the feedback. But most pilots, they film a whole season once they pick up the pilot before anybody really gets to see the pilot and weigh in on it. So I like how Amazon did this.
Or they get really, really brave and just go like, well, we're ordering the whole thing to series. Just do it. I mean, you may just throw an entire season worth of television down the toilet. Yeah, but we've got enough faith in you.
Now, when the Tick shows up at the barbecue, the birthday party for Arthur's stepdad, I got to tell you, man, Arthur doesn't like his stepdad. He makes it very clear that he's resentful towards the stepdad, but I think he's I think he'd be a cool stepdad. I mean, nobody necessarily wants to have a stepdad, but if you got to have one, I think I'd like hanging out with this guy. He likes cheese. He
loves cheese and always wants to know about your feet.
And he just seems like a gentle, easygoing, soft-spoken. He's I don't know. He's probably 60-something, right? I mean, he's an older fella. I think they said it's his 60th birthday, didn't they?
Yeah.
The big 6-0, and he's this Asian gentleman who just looks like he enjoys life, man. I think it'd be you could definitely have a worse stepdad than this guy.
Yeah, I mean, and of course, come on, he was Shredder in the second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie.
Oh, you're right, man. I knew I recognized him from somewhere.
Like honest to goodness, he is one of those character actors that has been on everything. He's got like 119 credits to his name. He's been on everything from like MacGyver to Bones to the Hawaii Five-0. You name it, that cat's been on it, dude.
Oh, and he's just mesmerized with the Tick. You know, he can't get enough of the Tick. Like, he loves the guy. Instead of thinking he's crazy and weird and being uncomfortable with him around, he just embraces him. I love it when he asks him, you know, is that a costume or is that just you?
He's like, I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Am I never nude or am I never not nude?
Again, that's stuff that I don't know that would have been in that pilot. And that would have been, if that pilot would have went on, I don't think weird little conversations like this would have happened. Because I think part of it, and you correct me if you think I'm wrong here, but I think they also may just kind of have felt when they were doing the pilot, well, we don't want to be too much like the Fox show. You know?
And then I think a lot of what they heard was, oh, we wanted the Fox show instead of this.
It's like, just give me what I want. You know, I'll tell you that I want something different, but what I really want is the same thing but different.
Don't give me what I say I want. Give me what I really want.
Yeah, exactly. No, that is 110% true, because everybody forever just goes like, you know what, man? We don't need this. We don't want the Transformers being, you know, we don't want these humans in there. We just want the Transformers. I promise you, if you just had an all Transformers movie and there were no human characters, everyone in that theater would fall asleep. Because it's boring.
Man. You're right. It would be tough to follow along. You got to have some. Even the cartoon had the little guy. The human kid that ran around with him.
Yeah, so it's not like, trust me, you'd get bored of that stuff quick. But you're right. It's
Spike. His name was Spike. I had to think about it.
What we think we want, or what we actually want, instead of exactly what we think we want. We think we want something else different, but nah, not really.
It's like if I asked my kid, "What do you want for breakfast?" You know, I want some Hershey bars with some chocolate syrup on it and some sprinkles.
You shut up. You were having a nutritious meal. Here, this is Cookie Crisp. Knock it out.
Exactly. You got to put a little something to temper it, or you won't be able to finish it. But I also like it. You know, the Tick shows up, and you know that episode of the Tick that we talked about was a few years back. So they dealt with alternative. I don't want to use the word alternative. They dealt with gay relationships differently on television back then, and had to use it as a bit more of a heavy-handed metaphor in the original Tick live action. But I like it here when the Tick walks in and says, "I'm his partner," and everybody like says, "Oh, well, we're so happy for him." Like they're still playing that game, but from a different point of view. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and of course, if this is the guy who shows up, though, that's just weird for anybody. But I God bless these people for just like, that's not the reason that they should be saying, "Ooh, this is weird." It should be like, this man is in a giant blue outfit here. That's your antenna, no pun intended, should be going up on this one, going, "Oh, is he a crazy person?"
This proves there is a lid for every pot, because you got to have an idea that Arthur hasn't had much luck in the dating world anyway. So they're definitely shocked when Miss Lynch shows up claiming to be Paloma. Is that what she says her name is?
Something like that, yeah.
And she is also interested in dating Arthur as her cover story. So it's a lot of fun here at the family cookout, and they go upstairs and she forces him to put on the flight suit again, and we get a little bit of shenanigans there with the vacuum cleaner and the lint exploding and shaming her into running off, and Arthur flies out the window.
I like how I like the suit. Like you said, it's not part of the actual, you know, mythos and everything, but I like this suit. I like that it's kind of it's given this a bit of agency at the same time too. And in the world of like, you know, of Iron Man and everything, people are used to seeing that stuff now. Because, you know, back in the day,
idea that it's ridiculously high tech, but still they couldn't come up with something better than looking like an actual moth. And, you know, you see the guy in flight, and you're not believing for a minute that this has any possibility of being a real thing in the real world, that those wings could carry a man through the air.
I like how I love the fact that it has autopilot, and if you just disengage autopilot, you sink to the ground like a stone.
I would like it if when it was on autopilot, it just flew to a streetlight and hovered.
Ooh! Oh, look at this! How about that? Oh, green.
And you know, it has like the goggles that come over his eyes that he can engage when he's using the suit. The retractable goggles. I think those are nice. But I would like it if when the goggles came down, he still like put his glasses on over top of the goggles or something. Because the whole time I'm wondering, where did he put his glasses? Because when he takes the helmet off, he automatically has them back on. We never really see him put the glasses on or take them off.
I like stupid stuff like that, where it's just like, this doesn't make any sense, where, you know, like we see in all the Batman films and stuff, you know, whoever's playing Batman's got a lot of black eye makeup underneath that. They rip off the mask, ain't no eye makeup underneath there. It's just like, what kind of horse hockey is this, boy?
But I like the ridiculous stuff too, like in Batman 66 when I almost called Alfred Arthur because I'm talking about the Tick. But when Alfred puts on a mask to try to disguise his identity, he still puts on those glasses on the outside of the mask. Like, I love that, and I wish that Arthur did that.
I thought you were going to talk about like Arthur, when Arthur was really, really drunk and put on that Batman costume.
That would be a great. That was in Arthur too. Like,
everybody, I'm Batman or something. I don't know.
Dudley Moore's best superhero performance.
Dudley Moore is Batman.
Oh man, but the Tick and Overkill have their little fight, and the Tick's fights are always fun because he has absolutely no reason to be afraid of fighting, and then Overkill finds his weakness or his sensitive antennae. I love that part.
I love that where he's just like, no, who's sensitive? Don't touch it.
It's not like it even hurts. It's just like it's uncomfortable, like he might as well put his finger in his belly button or something.
Bullets just bounce right off. He can fall down an entire 10 stories, not a scratch on him, but touch them antenna. It's like, oh no, stop.
I think it'd be funny if there's an episode like where his antenna get broken and then he's deaf until they get fixed.
Well, no, he has ear holes. That's another weird thing. So but
it would be something weird, man. The antenna get broken and all of a sudden he can't smell or something.
There
like
you
that.
go. That's probably more accurate.
The lady making the rice, man, too. Just how much joy he gets from the name of that rice dish that Oma makes.
She goes through this thing. Oh, that's fantastic. We're gonna call it rice. It's just so bad. And I love how that's kind of become their de facto lair, is a convenience store.
I do like that, man. That's always a nice touch with the Tick. Like the original live action, always hanging out in Arthur's apartment here. The bodega, I guess you would call that.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. And Arthur steals a poncho from the bodega that's actually in his building. Like if you're going to shoplift, at least do it like at a store you don't frequent on the regular.
Yeah, man. They'll kind of recognize you when you come in. But I will say this guy, while a little high strung, is also at the same time a little bit too cool with some stuff.
You're right, man. A lot of people are like that in here.
He's just like, he's very upset, but at the same time, also a little bit more forgiving than one would imagine. Given his temperament.
We keep getting these glimpses of Superion that make me think in the back half of this season something's going to have to happen with Superion. And they're also giving us the big naked guy. Yeah.
Throughout the entire thing. And I love it because I can't speak for episode 1, but I mean, even throughout with all out episode 2 and on and on and on, they're always kind of dropping some stuff in the background about, hey, here's what's going on. There's always a news story that's just a little bit aloof in the background somewhere. Somebody's watching TV or, you hear something on the radio and we finally see it. And we really don't know a whole lot about it, but it's just a big, giant, naked man.
Yeah. They give us the background of, what was the cat guy's name? I've already forgotten now, but like Kathmandu. That was it. The guy Kathmandu, we see him in the background and they explain the 28th Amendment. That means superheroes don't have to give up their identity to the cops. We get a little bit of background on like a fisherman catches the Aquaman equivalent in this world in one of his tuna nets or something like that. Like there's little stuff. They really cram a lot into these episodes that are all sub 30 minutes.
Yeah, and I will say I think that is actually really one of the highlights of this program is that each is 27 minutes long. No commercials, obviously, but it goes through at a nice brisk pace. You hit the end of an episode and you're like, oh shoot, I want to watch the next one. You don't have that kind of like, I think if each episode were an hour, you may just kind of go like, okay, I'm done with that for a little bit, but I'll see you next time. But with this,
I compare it to like an Andes Mint. Like an Andes Mint. You throw one of those in your mouth and you're like, oh, that was refreshing. That was nice. I could go for another. But if somebody gave you an Andes Mint that was like the size of a dictionary, that would just be a bit much.
Yes, the size. All right.
What?
This is, hearmoviepodcast@gmail.com. Just share your thoughts. I don't care.
Andes Mint the size of a dictionary.
Somebody knows what he's getting for Christmas now. So, I guess that's over.
Oh, man, I got one of those big Hershey Kisses one time. They're hard to eat.
Get Daddy his fork and knife. We're having Hershey Kiss for dinner again.
It was almost bedtime by the time I got through the second one.
You get over here. I got to carve this. It's got the little electric.
It's like Thanksgiving turkey. It's the Thanksgiving Hershey's Kiss.
Come here, get yourself a slice of Hershey's Kiss, kids. That's the best Thanksgiving ever, isn't it?
Oh, next year we're getting the world's largest M&M.
Oh, don't get the peanut M&M that big. I don't know where that peanut's coming from. But yeah, man. So I mean, I don't know what else too much more to say, but this show is a lot of fun. I like everything that's going in it. It feels like it's a little. It feels like they listened to what people were saying, and or just decided, you know what, we're just gonna do what we're gonna do and forget about it. You know?
Yeah. And there's not a single performance that falls flat for me, even like the background henchmen and stuff. I think it's solid, man.
Yeah, everybody's a lot of fun, and the show becomes what it's supposed to be, fun. And so if you watch the first episode and you were like, I don't really, maybe it's not my bag, take a second look. That's why we do this for you, so you know whether or not you can take a second look. And I'm going to finish this season out, and I actually think there's only 10 episodes total.
Oh, really? I thought there were going to be 6 more. That doesn't have any more episodes till February, so I thought maybe there were 6 more. I'm just guessing, though.
I don't know. At least according to IMDb, when you look at all the major players, 10 episodes. So
okay, well that's something you can usually hang your hat on.
So I would guess it's on that, but looking forward to it.
They're gonna have 2 clip shows thrown in.
Just by the end of the first season, you're already throwing to clip shows.
Yeah.
Love that idea. Well, it's come that time of the show, Bruce.
So there's no way, man. I mean, this show has some good actors and stuff, but there's no way this could have a link to Sylvester Stallone.
Well, I got news for you, Bruce. Thank you, and I have a prepared statement.
Oh, really?
I think I just hit my desk. Henry B. Miller is an editor for an episode of The Tick on Amazon. Now, this is my wheelhouse. I was a paid editor for years, and when you're an editor, you pay attention to every detail. Being an editor is like putting together a jigsaw puzzle, except this jigsaw puzzle, there's not only over 1 million pieces, there are also a ton of pieces that you will never, ever use. You've got to figure out what goes in and what never sees the light of day. Famed Apocalypse Now editor and Academy Award winner Walter Murch writes in his book In the Blink of an Eye, which I have read.
Yay.
He writes, an editor's job should be just that, a blink of the audience's eye. Unless you're doing it on purpose for emphasis, your audience should never see the cut. The next shot should just be an extension of the last. They say a movie's made 3 times. Once when it's written on the page, the next when it's shot, and finally when it's edited. The editor is the gatekeeper for how good a show is. Yet the highest praise you can give an editor is none. That's right. If you did your job amazingly well, no one notices. The only notice you'll get is when you failed. The editors are truly the unsung heroes of television and film. And Harry B. Miller has edited several well-known TV shows, from the new Hawaii Five-0 to Dollhouse, Bones, Eureka, Dune, and of course, an episode of this week's The Tick. But Harry B. Miller has had many hats over his career. He's also done a lot of work as a sound editor. Now, these are the guys who sync up all the sound effects, every step, every movement, the breeze in the air, the creak of the house. Harry B. Miller helped put that sound in there for flicks like Back to the Future, Days of Thunder, In the Mouth of Madness, Wayne's World 2, The Game, Alien Resurrection, Jingle All the Way, Waterworld, and of course, Rocky V.
The best Rocky.
A movie that stars a man whose sweat could be used to clean an engine block or as an aphrodisiac, Sylvester Stallone. Yes, Harry B. Miller edited all of those Rocky punches to the dome of Tommy Machine Gun Morrison in that famous street brawl that told the world, okay, maybe it's time for these Rocky flicks to take a break. So thank you for your contribution to sound and editing, Harry B. Miller, and thank you, HMPers, for listening to another amazing Stallone connection. Now, little chum, let's rate this bad boy so we can get back to what we do best, fighting crime.
Yes, out of all 7 Rocky movies, Rocky V is far and away the best.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it really, at the end of that, you're just like, Okay, yeah, we should stop for a while. We should not be doing any more of these. It's a wonder why it was my goodness.
Rocky V was one of those rare movies that I saw for free and still asked for my money back.
You owe me $12. All right.
People were lining up for days to pay to not have to see it.
Here's $10. Don't let me watch this ever. So we got to get down to it. Bruce, here on Hero Movie Podcast, we have our patented Robin rating system. If you want to check that out, go to facebook.com/Hero Movie Podcast. That's right there at the top of the page. And while you're there, why don't you just, drop us a like there, man? We'd really appreciate that. Bruce, for the first 6 episodes of The Tick, what is your Robin rating, sir?
Well, I can say I really liked episodes 2 through 6 a lot more than I liked the pilot. And I didn't dislike the pilot. I just like 2 through 6 a lot more than the pilot. I don't know. I don't know what to call this. It's not quite a half season. It's a season chunk, I guess, a season lunk.
All chunky season.
Yeah, but it's good, man. I'm wanting to see more. I've been on record as saying how much I loved Patrick Warburton's Tick, and I'm kind of feeling a little bit like I'm getting some of the goodness of the Warburton Tick, but getting a little higher production value, a little more modern filmmaking. So it's good all the way around. I'm going to give it a Tim Drake and say I'm looking forward to more.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I mean, I almost want to give it all the way up to Dick Grayson, but I want to leave a little bit of room there just in case. But right now, it's very strong in the Tim Drake category. I like a lot of it, and I hope, because I don't foresee it going that way with the rest of this season. But come season 2, if they decide to do that, which I hope this is successful, and I think HMPers go out and watch it, help make this thing successful. I hope they get into having more superheroes in there. Maybe not necessarily.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily have to be the ones that we know. If they are, awesome. But if not, that's cool too. I think they've always shown throughout the the animation, the comic, and the live action stuff that they're good at making up cool little, offbeat superheroes and stuff.
And I'd kind of like to see a spinoff with that talking dog that they had in one of these episodes.
Oh my gosh, the talking dog. We totally forgot about the dog. And he's just like,
Onward.
He's not
he was Onward, and his partner was Christian Soldier.
It was so bizarre. That dog is just like, and he's so serious. And the guy who's interviewing the dog is so serious. It's great.
Yeah.
So I hope to see more little silly stuff like that coming up in a possible season 2 here. I think they went through, they listened, they changed this stuff, and they made this show a whole heck of a lot of fun. So that's pretty strong recommendations from both of us. All right, everybody, that is it for this episode. Next week, we're going to be talking about the first 2 or 3, depending upon how you want to count them, episodes of what's it called again? The Inhumans. I was like, as much of me is trying to forget this. I know the Inhumans well enough. I know all the characters and everything, but yet I'm still just like, if I say it, it becomes true. So we're going to be covering that of the Inhumans there, and it's they had their IMAX debut, and maybe that was probably a bad idea because it gave everybody a couple of weeks to go by and go, oh, maybe this isn't so hot. But we'll be talking about that and see if it's worth watching if you need to do that. So check that out next week. And we'll have a little blurb from our own Sean Keenan about it. So, don't worry. He's going to be here in spirit and somewhat in voice. If not live, doggone it, he'll be here on tape. In the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet this week?
I'm always pointing people towards Amazon to my latest book, Dragon in Gallus. A lot of fun, man. This is the second entry in what I'm hoping will be my epic fantasy trilogy, The Lump Adventures. It's got a lot of fun. It's got, a blind dragon. It's got ghosts. It's got sword fights. It's got stick fights. It's pretty much got a lot of fights, so that's good for it, right?
All the stick fights.
And it's available on Audible, so you want to slide me a credit and pick up that audiobook, I would love you for that. It's also on ebook, which is enrolled in Kindle Unlimited, so subscribers can read that for free. And the good old paperback is out there for people that like to have something to put on the shelf. You can find them all at Amazon. And don't forget my other books while you're there. Check them out.
Yeah, and here's the thing, people. You buying these books helps not only, put a smile on Bruce's face, it also helps him write our book faster. Bruce,
I'm getting so close, man.
With your permission, I want to read a quick excerpt here that Bruce shared with us today, if that's cool with you.
Go ahead.
The bathroom door burst open and Sean leaped out. He landed in a 3-point stance and stuck out one hand, palm up, with his two middle fingers pressed against his palm while the thumb, index finger, and pinky stuck out. He was dressed as Spider-Man, or more accurately, Nick Hammond's version of Spider-Man.
Yeah, man, I'm getting so close to the end on that one. Then I'll go back to do a little, polishing on it, and hopefully have that up in Adam for folks by the end of this month. No, by the midway of next month, I should have it.
It's stocking stuffer, everybody. Come on now.
Who doesn't want to stuff their stocking with Sean Keenan and a Nick Hammond spider suit?
Who doesn't want that? Mommy, I'll be coming home for Christmas. I don't know what that means. Just sounded like a really great segue, didn't it? And of course,
it sure did.
Of course, my other podcast here, the Film Find at thefilmfind.com, and Nerd Talk Now at nerdtalknow.com. Usually do live shows on Saturdays, but we're switching stuff up a little bit this week because I've done a little bit of video editing for you. So if you want to check that out, it is also available there after the matter and everything, nerdtalknow.com. Thank you guys so much. Remember, support us over at patreon.com/HMP. Email us at heromoviepodcast@gmail.com. For the absent Sean Keenan, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portrais. We'll see you next week. And remember, what do I say at the end of this show? Stay super, everybody.
You were about to say you got to be one of the good guys.
Yeah, I did. I'm telling you, that's about the second time I've almost...
Stay super, everybody.
Yeah.
Goodbye, Marty and Evie.